Welcome in, Bills Mafia. Welcome back to another edition of the Go Bills podcast here on the Go Bills Podcast Network on our YouTube channel. You can find us on all different social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as on our new website, gobillspodcast.com. I am your host and founder of the Go Bills Podcast, Brett. Glad to be with you on this Wednesday evening. And although there is sad news out of the NFL, first and foremost, I want to say to everybody out there in all of Bills Mafia, everyone around the NFL, happy holidays to everybody out there. And we wish you the safest travels if you're going anywhere to visit your family, safest travels, as well as a happy new year. I want to get that out first and foremost. But the sad news out of the NFL today, as you saw earlier in our preview before the game, in our intro, sad news out of the NFL as Franco Harris, former running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, has passed away at the age of 72. He was an iconic member of the Immaculate Reception, which got the Pittsburgh Steelers to win their first playoff game ever in the NFL. And it's incredibly sad that he has passed away, as he was going to be dedicated this week with his jersey being retired. His number 32 jersey was going to be retired by the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as they're going to remember the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. It was only 2 days away, and it's incredibly sad that has happened and he has passed away. But my thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Franco Harris, as well as anybody that he's touched, and all his friends, family, anybody that he's touched within the Pittsburgh Steelers organization as well. It's an incredibly sad day in the NFL, especially when somebody in the NFL has passed away. And obviously our thoughts and prayers are with his family at this time. But without further ado, let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Let's go over. Today we're going to do our preview show of the Buffalo Bills and Chicago Bears game, and what's going to be another very cold game in Soldier Field on Saturday at 1 p.m. The game temperature is going to be around 9 degrees, and it's going to be really, really cold with, as expected, some snow. I know the Bills have had some experience in the snow this year, a couple of games where they have been in the snow. One game where they had to move the game actually to Detroit, another division rival with the Chicago Bears, where we had 6 feet of snow, where we had to move to another stadium. But this time, we're going to be playing in Soldier Field. The 11-3 Buffalo Bills will take on the 3-11 Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. The Bills are coming off of a home win against the Miami Dolphins and division rival Miami Dolphins in a 32-29 victory over them. The Bills have been able to defeat them and other AFC East opponents, each of them, once in a row in the last few games. So it's good to see that Buffalo is getting some wins in the division after starting 0-2 this year. Let's go over to YouTube real quick and go over our YouTube comments. Red, White, and Bills on YouTube said, no Pro Bowl for Tua, LMFAO. After leading in votes, that's kind of strange that he didn't get into the Pro Bowl. I'm surprised that he didn't. The Bears are on a 7-game losing streak this week and are trying to get back on track and get into a rhythm on offense after many weeks where they have been good, but they aren't able to have the passing attack like the Buffalo Bills have. They have a really good running game that is first in the NFL, but they don't have the passing game right now. They have a bunch of players on their team that just are not number one wide receivers, but they're good number 2s or number 3s on other teams, but they just don't have the guy that they can count on each play to go out there and get them 5 to 7 yards per play. The Bears offense is also headlined by Justin Fields, who is an incredible runner, and he is 7th in the NFL right now in rushing attack. He has an even 1,000 yards this season, and he is another guy that is going to be an explosive player for the Bills to have to stop. Another good running player that the Bills have to get their hands on and make sure that they're wrapping him up. So in this show, we're going to go over our keys to the game, as well as give you a preview of the game, highlight our key matchups, as well as give our score predictions for the game. Let's begin with the overall meetings. This will be the 14th meeting between the Bears and the Bills. The Bears are leading the series 8-5. In the last meeting between the Bills and Chicago, the Bears won 41-9 on September of 2018. Starting at quarterback in that game was Nathan Peterman, who threw 3 interceptions, as well as had 4 sacks in that game. Julian Stafford had a sack in that game. Tre'Davious White had an interception. And the Bears defense had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game over the Bills. And that was a very bad game from the Bills in that game. And it was the start a few weeks later of the Josh Allen era in Buffalo. So it was not a good week for Buffalo that week, but it's where the Bills started. Let's go over the Bears on offense, starting with their offensive coordinator in Luke Getsy, who is in his first season as an NFL offensive coordinator. He is a 38-year-old offensive coordinator who previously was with the Green Bay Packers from 2014 to 2021. His overall stats in the NFL for his team, averaging 21 points per game. They have a 44.6 third down conversion rate, which is 7th in the NFL. Their red zone efficiency is 58%, which is 13th in the NFL. Total yards per game, 324 total yards. And they are number 1, as I said, in the rushing attack. But they are also dead last in the NFL in passing. Let's go over his quarterback, who is Justin Fields, a 23-year-old former number 11 pick in the 2021 NFL draft. Has a 5-18 record in the NFL. He is completing 62% of his passes this season, 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, rushing 143 carries this year for 1,000 yards, averaging 7 yards per carry. He has 8 touchdowns. He is averaging 4.3 yards after contact, so he's making a big impact when defenders are getting on him. He has 36 missed tackles this season, which is an incredible stat for a quarterback especially. And he is on pace to beat the all-time rushing yards for a quarterback in a season. So he's right on pace to do that. As for his passing attack, his average time to throw is 3.42 seconds, which is dead last in the NFL. When he does throw the ball in under 2.5 seconds, he's only done that on 31 snaps this season. He's completing 58% of his passes when throwing the ball in under 2.5 seconds. His average depth per target is 9.7 yards, which is 4th in the NFL. He is on 17.2% of his throws. He is throwing for over 20 yards. Most of his plays are play actions as well as screens, which accounts for 49% of the passes on offense. When he is under pressure, he is completing 44% of his passes, and he does do a good job, especially when it's against the blitz. He is very good against the blitz because he's able to use his legs to get first downs. Now let's go over the rest of the offense. The rest of the offense is highlighted by a lot of no names, especially at the wide receiver position. They have St. Brown as well as Chase Claypool, who was a former 2nd-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And these two are just different receivers. And I know that St. Brown is injured right now and is potentially unlikely to play this week. So we'll see how that goes. And as far as Chase Claypool, he's a big body receiver who has the ability to stretch the field, but doesn't have the ability to be a big body receiver like normal receivers do. He doesn't know how to use his body to his best ability. So that's where he struggles with. As far as running backs, David Montgomery, who this year has been a little bit of a different story for him. He is coming into the game this week. He's had a hip injury for the last few weeks, and he is a little bit behind Herbert on the team in rushing yards this week. His overall play throughout the season is 67% of the total offensive snaps for the Bears on offense per game. And he's doing a lot of his work where he's pretty much been the leading running back for the team with 64.3 yards per game. And he's done a lot better. He's playing in a contract year this year, and he's a running back who could potentially go off this week against the Bills, especially in the run game as well as in the passing game, which are two areas where Buffalo has struggled with against different the run, especially against the number one opposing team's wide receivers. So they could move David Montgomery out wide and use him as another weapon in the passing game as well. So that's an area where Buffalo is going to have to look at what the Bears are going to do on offense, because I think they're going to use different matchups in order for the Bills to not be comfortable on offense. Another weapon for the Bears on offense has been Cole Kmet. I said his name wrong, Cole Kmet. He is struggling right now with a knee injury, but has been the number one option for the Bears since Darnell Mooney has been out for the season. He isn't the most athletic player for the Chicago Bears, but he does a really good job of sitting in zone and catching the ball. And he's also a very comfortable option for the Bears on offense. As far as the offensive line for the Bears, they have some really good players as far as left tackle Braxton Jones, who's a rookie who's having a pretty good season this year, as well as right guard Tevin Jenkins, who is having an excellent season this year, but also has a neck injury. Let's go over the comments on Instagram as well from the Red, White, and Bills. He said that with the way the Bears run the ball, it's going to be a very hard game. And I completely agree with this comment. And the reason why I think it's going to be a hard game is because this is a team that you have to fear the quarterback as well. So you're going to have a spy player on Justin Fields. I apologize. I get these two confused. But Justin Fields, you're going to have a spy player on him. Probably going to have to be Matt Milano. But in terms of the team, I think of this as more of a guy that you're going to have to fear, like Lamar Jackson. But I don't think that Justin Fields has the ability and the arm strength as Lamar Jackson does. But if you look back to the beginning of the season where Buffalo was doing a good job of containing Lamar Jackson in the pocket, that's what the Bills are going to have to do in this game. So I would implement the same thing that you did against Lamar Jackson at the beginning of the season and allow Justin Fields to be able to beat you with his arm, because I don't think he can beat the Bills with his arm. Let's go over the Bears on defense, starting with their defensive coordinator. And I'm going to pull up my notes on this one real quick, as we have Alan Williams, who is the defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. He has some familiarity with Leslie Frazier as well as Sean McDermott, both coaching for the William and Mary with Sean McDermott. He was also he coached the running backs and defensive backs for William and Mary. He did coach the running backs from 1996 to 1997, defensive backs from 1998 to 2000 as well. And he has familiarity with Leslie Frazier, as he was coaching with him in the NFL when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. He was the defensive coordinator with the Vikings in 2012 until 2014. So that's where he has his experience as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. And he also has familiarity with the head coach of the Chicago Bears, Matt Eberflus, as he was promoted to the defensive coordinator after being the defensive backs coach with the Indianapolis Colts for the last few seasons. His team is averaging 25.6 points per game, which is 30th in the NFL, 355 points per game, 355 yards per game. I wish it was 355 points per game, because that would be incredible to give up. I think we would easily kill the Chicago Bears if that was the case. But 355 yards per game, which is 22nd in the NFL, 143 coming on the run game, which is 22nd in the NFL, 211 passing yards per game. The conversion rate on third down is 49%, and they're allowing a touchdown on 64% of their red zone drives. So what are the keys to the game for the Bills in order to beat the Chicago Bears? And we'll start with the Bills on offense. And the first thing is you're going to have to beat the Bears in the battle in the trenches. And this not only goes for the passing game, but also the running game. You're going to have to be more aggressive than the Chicago Bears on the offensive line. And I think that this is a game where Buffalo has a better offensive line than the defensive line of the Chicago Bears. And this is a game where Buffalo has to play bully ball on both sides of the ball. But first and foremost, we got to do better in the run game. We got to be able to open up holes for our running backs and be able to win the time of possession. And that's going to be the way that the Bills will win the time of possession, is by winning the battle in the trenches. Next, feed the ball to Stephon Diggs. This is a game where I think Buffalo can go after the different cornerbacks for the Chicago Bears. This is a game where I don't think that the Bears match up very well with the Bills. The Bears have mostly a bunch of number 2 cornerbacks in the NFL. So I think this is a game where Buffalo is going to have to feed Stephon Diggs, get him going early on, and that'll not only allow different players to get open as well, because the Bears are going to have to double team Stephon Diggs. It'll allow guys like Gabe Davis as well as Dawson Knox to get open in this game too. And my number 3 key to the game is going to go a lot along with the first key to the game, which is going to be establish the run in this game. And I think that you're going to have to establish the run mostly with James Cook in this game, because he's a more explosive running back. So I think that we're going to have to establish the run with James Cook, and then it'll open up opportunities for Devin Singletary as well as Nyheim Hines in this game. Number 4 is going to be let Josh use the play action to put pressure on the Bears and their communication. I think when the Bills are going to use that play action to mess with them, it's going to be good, because when Buffalo does do that, Josh is going to probably scramble to his right, which is going to cause some confusion between the Bears and who to cover Josh. It'll also allow for Josh to use his legs and be able to scramble for first downs as well. But before the play, I definitely think that Buffalo is going to have to motion players to make sure that the Bears are uncomfortable on their defense. As for the defense of the Bills, the biggest keys to the game, and this is first and foremost, and Sean said it best, is tackle. You got to make sure that you're wrapping up guys and making sure that you are playing in the right gaps at the right times in this game. Next is going to be play zone coverage versus the passing attack of the Chicago Bears. The Bears have the 32nd ranked passing attack in the NFL. And if Buffalo plays the zone coverage, a soft zone coverage, I think that Buffalo is going to be able to win this game first and foremost. But the most important thing is you got to be able to stop the run game of the Chicago Bears in this game. Next, the pass rush has to be disciplined in this game. And this is something that we've talked about left and right throughout the season. But we got to be disciplined in this game and make sure that we're not trying to go after Justin Fields and try and get a sack, especially when it's going to turn into a run play, and he's going to probably check it down to a run play. We got to make sure that we're staying in our gaps at the right moments, making sure that we're not giving holes for Justin Fields to be able to take off and get 15 to 20 yards down the field. Last, and this is something that I said earlier on, is treat Fields like Lamar Jackson, especially when he's trying to run the ball. You're going to see different plays where he's probably going to utilize the RPO for his favor. But this is a guy in Justin Fields who is a 6'3" quarterback in the NFL who is hard to bring down. So you got to make sure you're treating him like Lamar Jackson and bringing extra guys in to try and stop him. As for score predictions for the game, I do have the Bills winning this game by a score of 24-13. in favor of the Buffalo Bills. I think that there's going to be a lot of plays where Buffalo is going to be running the ball, and it's going to be a low-scoring game just because of the conditions in there. And I think it's going to be tough, especially with the winds. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of scoring, but I think that most of the scoring is going to come from the run game for the Bills. I think that Josh will probably have a decent game, but I don't think it's going to be the best game overall of the season for him. Let's go over the injury report for the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to try and pull it up real fast. As far as the injury report for the Bills. And bear with me 1 second. Also, I wanted to mention that the Bills are going to be moving to Chicago a day earlier than they were expected to. They're going to be flying out tomorrow evening for their game against the Chicago Bears. Other news around Buffalo: quarterback Josh Allen, wide receiver Stephon Diggs, center Mitch Morse, and safety Jordan Poyer have been named to the Pro Bowl. Other players who have been added to the alternates for the Pro Bowl: tackle Dion Dawkins, tight end Dawson Knox, linebacker Matt Milano, and linebacker Tremaine Edmonds are first alternates. Guard Roger Saffold and kicker Tyler Bass are second alternates. Linebacker Tyler Matakevich and long snapper Reed Ferguson, along with fullback Reggie Gillum, are third alternates. Defensive end Greg Russo and defensive tackle Ed Oliver are fourth alternates. Cornerback Siren Neal is a fifth alternate as well. Let's go over the injury report for the Buffalo Bills this week. Starting with quarterback Josh Allen, who was full on Wednesday in practice with a right elbow injury. Defensive end Boogie Basham did not practice on Wednesday with a calf injury. Ryan Bates, AJ Epinesa, and Cam Lewis are all full practices. Linebacker Matt Milano is limited in practice with a knee injury. Mitch Morse did not practice with a concussion. Defensive tackle Ed Oliver was limited with a calf injury. Defensive tackle Jordan Phillips was limited with a shoulder injury. Jordan Poyer was do not practice with a knee/rest day. Roger Saffold practiced in full after the veteran rest day as well. I will try and pull up the other news. Actually, I want to pull up the other news from the Buffalo Bills today, as the Bills have re-signed defensive tackle Brandon Bryant to the practice squad and released defensive tackle Kendall Vickers from the practice squad. And I'll try and pull up the Chicago Bears injury report as well. Let's see if I can pull it up. All right, I got the Bears injury report for Wednesday. Cornerback Josh Blackwell was a full practice with a shoulder injury. Larry Borum, offensive tackle, had a knee injury, full practice as well. Chase Claypool with a knee injury did not practice. N'Keal Harry didn't full practice with a back injury. Another did not practice is Tevin Jenkins, who is a guard for the starting right guard for the Chicago Bears, has a neck injury, did not practice. Jaylon Johnson has a finger and ribs injury, full practice, as well as Justin Jones and Riley Reef. Illnesses, full practice. St. Brown has a concussion, did not practice, and probably unlikely to play in the game. Kendall Vilder has an ankle injury, did not practice. Trayvon Wesco, tight end for them, has a calf injury, did not practice as well. Cody Whitehair has a knee injury, did not practice as well. He is the starting left guard for them. Armin Watts, defensive tackle, was a full practice as well. He has a shoulder injury, so that's the injury reports for both teams. But I do think the Bills are going to win this game by a good margin. I think that this is going to be a game where the field conditions are going to be right around the same as they were last week in Buffalo. And it's going to be a game where the special teams is going to have to play big in the game. And I have full confidence in Tyler Bass to be able to do that. So I think it's going to be a good game overall. Great week for Buffalo. And it's another week, like I said, where we're taking it 1 week at a time for the Buffalo Bills, going towards their playoff hopes of getting the number 1 seed. So let's get the number 1 seed, and let's take it 1 week at a time in order to get that number 1 seed. And let's hope for a Chiefs loss this week against their opponent. I'm trying to remember who they play. Bear with me 1 second as I pull it up. As the Chiefs play the Seattle Seahawks, who could potentially spoil their hopes of the number 1 seed in the NFL. So let's root for the Seahawks this week, and let's get the division wrapped up with a win against the Chicago Bears, as well as the Seahawks loss, so that we're 1 game up on the number 1 seed in the AFC as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as on our website, gobillspodcast.com. Don't forget to tune in to our pregame show Saturday before the Bills game at 12:30 p.m. That'll be going on YouTube and Instagram as well. And we will also have our halftime report following the conclusion of the first half of the Buffalo Bills game against the Chicago Bears as well. And our post-game show, which will be on Sunday, we're going to try to do it around 1 p.m., potentially moving it back a little bit, but I will keep you guys heads up on that. So don't forget to tune in to our website, thegobillspodcast.com, to get our immediate updates on when that show will be posted. This has been the Go Bills Podcast, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Go Bills Podcast. Happy holidays, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you later on this week. As always, Go Bills.